I'm going to start. Here I'm showing you, I wrote a small demo for all the features that we're going to see. The idea of the demo is that for every feature is going to have a file with a test in it that actually tells you what is the property that we're going to see and how it compares to the previous one. So my goal was that when you read this, it should be kind of self-explanatory. Here is, for example, when we see string interpolation, you will find tests that tells you what are the behavior of this new property. And I choose to, and I was talking with Quinn about that before this, most of the demos I see usually, when they say let's do a demo, they just have a main method, right, that writes stuff to the console. And I want to know what you guys think about that, because every time I see that, I say, but what does that prove, right? I want to see an actual test about it, because otherwise, if I want to test a toy with a feature, I want to go and write all my findings and put it into test. And that's what I usually do, and that's what I did this time too. So don't be disappointed. I have some console printing here and there, so you don't feel bad about it. But that's it. A bit about me. Well, for maybe some of you don't know, I'm originally from Argentina. That's the sexy accent that you hear. My company is called Method. I've been working on my own as a consultant for 6 or 7 years. I'm recently, around 2 years ago, become an entrepreneur too, started my own product. It's called SmartView. It's an agile project management tool. I encourage you to try it out and say it's great. My official title is software quality expert, because that's what I do. I help companies to improve quality in general, sometimes as an agile coach, sometimes as an architect working in the trenches, many times as a developer, so I haven't forgotten yet what's to code. And my family thinks that I'm a great cook. And here is some information. I have another slide with the information blog. I'll show you in a bit. And the first thing I want to do is to talk with you. Did you guys have you been playing with the new Visual Studio?
Yep.
Yeah? And there was any feature that you thought, I'm positive that the language, they added this because it's the most important feature? And you were there and say, where is it? How do I do it? Like, for example, I would have loved if when you create a class, right, you can pass, by declaring the constructor, I declare automatically properties without actually defining them, right? In CoffeeScript, for example, you don't do with the @ sign. You just put that's automatically a property, and Scala is similar, right? And I thought, well, I'm positive that this time they thought like me, that's great, and we'll add it, and no. Any feature that you guys thought will be there, or would like to be there?
Are tuples there?
Well, tuples are there as a class,
No.
but you still have to do new and that. If you remember when we talked about F# tuples is part of the native type, so you already have constants. If you put something with a comma, it's a tuple. And that would be awesome too.
That would have been.
That would have been great too. It's a great feature. It's almost like we wanted to be closer to F#. And by we, I mean I. Any of you, any other features? No? You're just happy? Is like pizza affecting you? Cool. So let's start So we'll go feature by feature. I didn't put much slides. I prefer to show code. But I just want to use the slides as a guide. String interpolation. Some of you that have dabbed in Python or Ruby, other languages, know that when you want to have a string that uses expressions inside, you can just put them in there. There's no need to do something else. CSharp 5 has no interpolation. We have to use concatenation, right? Plus everywhere, spaces, awful stuff. Or use string.format, right? You guys want to turn down a bit the light, maybe from the back? Thank you. You guys use string.format? Yeah?
Yes.
Do you guys screw up the parameters,
Yes.
the position, the order? So, yeah.
I don't know if there's a dial for those lines.
Yeah, but there's the switch too. You can just turn it off and then dial up the light.
Ooh.
There you go. So here's what we can do in C# 6 is just use the $sign before the string and then use the curly braces, right, to put our variables. Can I switch? So here is my demo. I just want to show you each file has the name of the actual property. Here's string interpolation. And when I started to write this, my kids were talking about Harry Potter. So I'm a fan myself, so I decided to, why not? So I have a class wizard, and my first test is to show that is the same result as string format. You see here, can you guys, is the size okay?
Yeah.
So you see the name, and then I'm using an expression in brackets and another expression, so there's no concatenations, there's no spaces. And here is the same with format, right? I know how many times instead of putting 0 and 1, I put 0, 0, 0, 0, and then realize what's going on.
Or you have to refactor it, heaven forbid.
Yeah, totally. So our first assertion, our test runs, and if we're lucky, not only will run, but it's passing, right? It's small, but here, there you go. It's the same as string format. Let me clean this up. Perfect. Next one.
Amir,
Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question about that. Would it also work if, for example, everything that actually is without the $sign, like for example, if it was passed in as a parameter, as is, and then you just assigned it to something with a $sign, would it also interpolate that way? Like for example, if that entire string was passed in as a somewhere as a parameter,
Yeah.
without the $sign, it would still work.
No, without the $sign, no.
No, but then you reassign
No.
it with the $sign.
No, it's when you use the $sign, that's compiled into a call to string format, right? So as soon as you use it without, it's a string. Okay? Imagine that you put it as a parameter, so that will be compiled to, I'll assign it with a string format, and then I'll pass it as a parameter. You see what I mean? As soon as I remove this,
So that would make internationalization really difficult.
sorry?
That would make internationalization really difficult. Like for different languages, if you had your string stored elsewhere, you wouldn't be able to easily use the interpolation of values into those strings.
Why? You see, they're not the same. And here is the
Yeah, what I meant was if that string that you got there was assigned to a different variable, and then you assigned
Yeah.
actual to $sign plus.
Yeah, something like this, right?
Yeah.
Something like this?
Yeah. You might have to do concatenation or something like that.
No, it doesn't.
It won't work.
It won't. Like, and if you say something like this, maybe this is what you meant?
That might work.
No, it won't. Let's try it out.
We'll evaluate.
Well, we'll go back to the internalization in a bit. See? It failed with the same message. So once you declare it, that's it. There's no coming back. All right. And you were saying about internationalization, right?
Yeah, because you normally store like the name is first, last, and whatever that is in French or something in a file, then you pick the string out of it, and then the interpolation won't work now because it's just a string.
Say if you're using string format, you can store your translations with the 0-1 tokens
Yeah.
and pass that string format.
That's what we do.
But you can't do that with interpolation.
I don't see it right now, but so why don't we write a test? Show me. Aha.
Well, you kind of did by testing what.
Well, now I did it.
No, like when you change out the test.
You make me stop down myself, and now I did it. So we write a test or not?
Well, what you changed in the previous one kind of is what that test would be. Like that actual one would kind of be what you'd store in the like in your internationalization file.
Yeah.
In different languages, but because it's just a string and it can't be used to then inject the variables, you wouldn't be able to store them in different languages.
Heaven forbid you change a variable name real quick.
Yeah, like you kind of have problems both ways.
No, but if it will work with string format, why won't work with interpolation?
Because you store the format in that resource file.
Because
the
the
resource
variables-
file would
because
have
the
the name is 01 in the resource file.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, you screwed, sorry. Yeah, it's you can replace some stuff. No, I guess not everything. Even with that, at the time I saw it as a finally, right? After seeing it in Ruby for so long, I said, at least this time, every time I write a message, I don't need to format and all that. Next one, the format modifiers that you use with string format, you can still use them, right? For padding or for currency. So let's run it. And where is it? Here. Yeah. Format modifiers can be used. Next one. It's not only just one variable or just one reference to a property, but you can put any expression. For example, here, I'm putting that based on the age, is an adult or a child. And here I'm comparing the equal. You guys use an unit? Yeah? So let's run this one. And it passes. So far, so good? Okay, next one. How many times you guys, when you have something that is null, you have to write an if and then use it? Yeah? Now we look like a self-help group, eh? Yeah, I've done it. So we need to check for null, but many times what you just want to know, if it's null, let me know. Everything is null and that's it. So checking actually for null every single time is a drag. So I don't want to check. I just want to short circuit. I just want to say when you have something null, I don't want to check if the reference that is null, and then what you return is null, and whatever comes after is null. I just want to say it's null. At any point is null, and let's move on. So what they added, and this is similar to CoffeeScript, is to have the question mark. So when you want to use a property or a method, any expression, and you put the question mark, if it's null, you won't keep going. The compiler adds the check for you, and everything is null. And here is our test. Is it okay, guys, to switch from test to slides? Yeah, is that good? So let me find it. The null conditional operator. So here I have a reference to a wizard that is null, and I'm saying I'm trying to call the first name on a wizard, right? And I want to check that when the wizard is null, the property will be null too. Let me kill this and run it again. And success. Next, you have an index operator defined, same thing. If the wizard is this create wizard returns an array, right now it's hard-coded, is returning always null, right? So if I'm trying to use the index and it's null, the result is null too. The coalescing operator, do you guys use that? Yeah? So I always look at the coalescing operator as an OR, right? Either this, or if it's null, or give me the other one, right? And for a second there, when you look at it, say, wow, we're going dynamic right here, but no, it's statically compiled. So again, if the last is null, right, you would use the second one, in this case run. We run the test. And it passes too. Is it there? Let me run again. Is the index? I'm missing one test. Why? Where is it? Oh, it's a filter? No. There you go. So this is green too. Now, what about methods? You're calling a method on a null, right? That won't actually return null, but that will throw a null exception, correct? So this test shows that this expression does not throw any exceptions. Are we okay with the code? Do you need me to explain further? No? Dave, we need coffee for next time.
Yep, fair enough. I do have a question.
Go ahead.
The two question mark operators.
This one.
That's not a C#. That's not. Is that part of the?
No. That's CSharp 4?
It was like around for that anyways.
Sorry?
I think it's like 2 or 3 that came in.
2 or 3?
And
Two, I'm not sure.
What does it mean?
It means instead of doing if, like,
It's a null coalesce.
yeah, if you would say if this is null, right?
Yeah.
Then do this,
Oh,
else.
okay.
So it's a shortcut for that.
Okay, cool. I've never seen that before. Given I program in Java and JavaScript now, but still.
Well, actually in JavaScript you can just use or, right?
Right, yeah.
So now you don't have only the main actually variable that uses null, but whatever you call on it can be null, right? So in this case, wizard, I'm asserting is not null, but the first name is null. And then I'm calling length on that. The whole thing is going to be short circuit and return null. There you go. Yes.
So if first is going to be null, you have to put the question mark on wizard as well?
Whatever you feel or you're concerned that is going to be null, yes. If you're super positive, 100% positive that it can be null, you don't need to.
So if you took the question mark away from wizard, this test would pass.
Yeah, because I'm sure that wizard is not null. I'm asserting it here. Right? Now, are we going to start using the question mark on every single variable? No. No. Think of this that every time you write an if, perhaps this will save it up. And the less ifs we have, the better. Right? It's much easier to read. Sometimes we just want to know it's no. We don't want to further. So that this can save you like 3 ifs nested or something like that.
I wonder how this affects code coverage when you've technically kind of hidden a branch in that line.
Code coverage because what?
Well, if you're writing tests and you're looking and you'll see code coverage on that line, meanwhile you actually have a bunch of branches in that one statement that if it's null in any of these places.
And if you realizes that you're testing it or not?
Yeah, because like it might not affect this line obviously because it's going to work the same way, but it might affect stuff later on if you didn't know to check for those things.
I don't know. It's a good question, though I don't trust much. I don't put much in code coverage. But I usually try not to go down. But I never seen that as a measure of. But you're right. Cool. So next. So far, how you guys doing? Do you like what you see? Not all together though. It's a small room, you know.
It's cool, I'll say that, but the thing I'm looking for is what's gonna blow my hair back.
It's a very good question. I think it's coming.
Okay.
I think there are improvements. I know that you ask and say, well, when do I need to check out? For me, the string interpolation, that's why I put them first.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty big because these will save me a lot of time. For some of you guys that have used Java, you know that in Java there is a way not only to import namespaces, but to import classes, right? So static methods, so far in CSharp 5, they're always qualified, right? You have to put the class. So we have to do this, enumerable empty of t. Now we have a static way of including classes, right? I just wrote here enumerable, but you will put system.link.enumerable, and that brings all the static methods of the class into the scope. So you can do just empty of t. And to illustrate that, what I did is to write like a small DSL class. I wanted to write a DSL for using kind of given, when, then in my tests. So I wrote a static class with given, when, and then that I pass an action And then what I did is I wrote a test that shows how to use the DSL. Right, I have my, sorry. You see here they're using static DSL. And then in my test, I say, given I remove all products, when listing all products, then the product list is empty. So I'm passing actions to all of them. And of course, they don't do anything, right? And then actually does an assertion. You will call this method, and whatever this method is returned, you will compare to my expectations, that it's an empty list. So when I run this test, what they do here, you see? It's printed into the console for all of you console lovers. But I didn't pass any strings. So what did I do?
In the actions?
Yeah. You see that I'm passing a method. I'm not passing a string. Because I say I might be lazy, why not go further? So basically I'm just using an expression, right, on the action to get the method body, the name, and the action name action. So that's something that you can use to write less. If you really have the scripting methods, that could help out. And having, with almost no effort, a DSL, or you can use it for many other things, right? You can use static, bring math into your code and just use all the static methods. And this is free, right? You don't need inheritance, you don't need anything. You guys want me to repeat, or are we good?
So theoretically, you could use static assert and then remove that from all your end unit tests.
Correct. You could.
Not saying it's a good idea, just saying that
Yeah,
it's
you
kind
could.
of the
Yeah,
functionality that
those classes, they're oriented to be qualified.
Yeah.
But you could write new classes that they will use it as a scope, all those static methods, right?
Okay.
And just use them in any class, and so it doesn't have to be an extension either. They're not related. So this is pretty cool. Any more questions about it? No? I know, you guys seem like a bit lost. Am I reading it right?
Not lost.
Not lost? No?
Just not blown away yet.
There you go.
We're trying, we're trying.
Did BB have that?
Yeah.
I thought you were making fun of it for a second there.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else. You use BB?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You're the
Legacy
guy.
code.
You're the one guy.
No.
When you're
I
feeling
have
bad.
BB
Our shop
6.
uses BB extensively too.
Oh man. Oh, well, I use Java 6. Like, I'm not one to talk anymore.
Well, but you have static import.
I do have static import. That's a really good point. I do,
There you go.
I do specifically that.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, if you see, there are many Java libraries like Lambda J, for example, that they use heavily this. So if you want to have a better idea how to use it, for example, you can check Lambda J and you'll see how they use it to iterate, to import all kinds of things that you will need an extension to do it. It just does it for you. So when you have a getter and a setter declaration, right, you always, if you want to initialize that, either you need a backing field or you need to do it in your constructor. So instead of initializing the constructor, this is the shorthand. So this automatically, of course, creates the property for you, the backing field, everything, and then it gives a default value. And to show you that, no, we have, this is my base class. I was too lazy to create a wizard every time. So we have a wizard class again with first and last name, initialized default constructor, right? Because then I want to have also a constructor that takes first and last. And I want to have a method that has a change to, right? That if I call it, changes to. So I have tests for the default constructor, right? So I'm going to test that it sets the default first name to Harry, and then it sets the default last name to Potter. Run the test, and it's right here. All green. Then the next one is about the non-default constructor. Here I'm creating another wizard, right? And I'm checking that though it was default initialized with a different name, I can call the constructor and override that. And I run these tests. And they're both green. So far so good. The last one. I'm going to use a default initialization, but then I'm going to call change to change them. And that works too. And it's green. So far so good? That's the spirit. No? No, this one. Where is the other one? So we did for getters and setters, but we have a getter only initialization. Again, we have the getter declaration, right? That we have to initialize in a constructor, so we have a shorthand to do it. So now that we don't have a setter, what's going to be this property? Can you modify it? No. So this is very useful to when you want to have immutable classes. So you can just initialize and then it will be immutable. And for that, we have the getter only initialization. Same thing, first and last name, right? Of course, I can still use the constructor if I wanted to initialize. So to illustrate that, I have a default constructor and a constructor that takes 2 parameters. And then I wrote this on purpose called won't compile. If I uncomment, come on. Oh, it's failed me. So you see, if I try to compile, it won't work. Because after the constructor, I cannot modify. There you go. So I have a default constructor test, checks that both of them are set by default. And here is all green. Then I have a non-default constructor, the one that takes 2 parameters, and it's checking that they're the same. And it's here the non-default. And I added a test that is just as a guidance, that it has an ignore attribute to remind you that it won't compile. That if you try to modify it, and I thought, should I just talk about it? I said, well, why don't just put it in the code? I prefer to put stuff in the code where I need to remember, right? Let's better document with the code than just try to remember it. Cool. So sometimes we need to write a body for a method that is very, very short. However, doesn't matter how short, we need to open brackets, write it, and sometimes you say, can I do something better? And you're about to switch languages, but no. You can do this. So you have a method, you can use like kind of the lambda syntax to define an expression. Clearly it has to be a short expression and small expression, right? Otherwise it kind of gets lost in it. And to show you that, of course, we have on methods. You guys following the pattern in the test, right? Each namespace has the name of the property and then the test inside. So here, we have two properties, first and last, and then we have a full name method that uses first and last. Well, we could write this.
I was about to ask.
I think I wrote this before explaining interpolation. You guys agree?
Much nicer.
And then for console lovers like you, we have a print that does a...
That you could have done the same thing?
Sorry?
That you could have interpolated as well?
Or just call full.
Yeah, I could have. But I could have done something else.
Call it question mark full name.
Yeah, I could have, but do we need to put this console here?
Static import.
Mm-hmm. Look at you guys. So our test is going to check that when I call full name, right, it's going to return the first and the last. So I run this, and here is the test passing. But we can do this with methods. What about properties? Same problem, no matter how short, same solution. You have a small property and we write lots of these, right? Instead of just going into the whole body, we can just write the expression.
Is that the same number of characters either way?
What?
Well, you either have the curly braces or you have the rocket. But
You didn't have to type return.
Yeah.
So can that only be used read-only properties?
The short explanation is if you get paid by line, don't use it. Clearly. But this is not an improvement that you say, you know, wow, now it changes all my code. However, the more you use it, you get comfortable with it and realize that sometimes just reading one line, what it does, without brackets in the middle, helps a lot. It makes it way more descriptive. So we have the same, we have a property full name in this case, and of course I could have used string interpolation. And we have also an index, right? Operator that no matter what spell you ask for, it returns always the same one. Because that's a signature spell.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Exactly. So we have the property full name, and it's green, and then it doesn't matter with what we call the index, it returns the same exact. Okay. Cool. So sometimes we need to use hardcoded strings to refer to variable names, to refer to exceptions. We want to say, you know what you pass me is a string, and using strings, as we know, is error prone, not only for spelling, but refactoring and all that. You need to follow. I don't know if you guys use ReSharper. There's a check that says, do you want me to go into your strings and change everything for you? And sometimes you do that, and it's a disaster. Because if it's a common name like customer, changes all your code, all your comments and stuff. And so there's a new operator called nameOf, and it will return the name of the variable, in this case, first name. To illustrate that, nameOf operator. So we have a wizard, and here I have a product price that's nullable, right? So I'm going to throw an exception and say, I want to say that the product price is null. So instead of just putting a string, I'm going to use product price. So I'm going to assert that when I call this delegate throw it, it's going to throw an exception with a message, product price is null. So far so good? And I run it, and it's here at the bottom, name operator passes. The next one, I don't want to just use one variable. I just want to use that the expression, in this case, the system under test dot first, the name of first combined with name, right, is the first name. That's Harry. So this produce first name, it's Harry. And we run it, and it's all green. Questions about this? No?
Is that compiled, or is it some kind of reflection that happens out of it?
No, I think it's compiled.
Yeah.
It must be because it works in the new formatting, which only works at compile time, right?
Yeah. This is a feature similar to VB.NET and F#, that it wasn't in C#. Now the exception catch block can have a guard, can have a condition, a filter. So we can do try, catch, and add a when. And this is not only great because the others have them and we didn't, but also it's pretty cool because it doesn't go into the exception, right? Unless the condition is true. So the stack stays the same, the variables stay the same, there's no unwind, anything. It will stay right there, right? So to illustrate that, for example, you could use a log method without even getting into the exception. Right? You could call a log method that returns false, log what you need to log, but you don't need to enter the catch block. See what I mean? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me show you an example and we. So I have a bunch of spells, and then I have my wizard that can cast some spells and only knows 2 spells. So if you ask it for spells that doesn't know, it will throw an spell not known exception with I failed message. So what I did is I wrote 2 tests, one that the exception should throw, right? Because that's what we expect, and one that doesn't throw. And what I did is to write a cast method that expects from the wizard to throw an exception, right, when the spell is a basic spell. And I have a function here that tells me if the spell is basic. So I'm going to ask the wizard to cast the spell, but then if there's a spell not known exception and is a basic one, right, I'm going to say, okay, rethrow it, go ahead, because you should know that. But if it's a spell that you don't know and is not a basic spell, then I would say, wow, that's really advanced, I don't need to know. So far so good. And everything is a basic spell except the Patronus, of course. So do you guys use the test case usually? So basically it gives you data to pass to the method. So a unit will run the method with each test case. So I expect all these to not throw the exception. The first 2 he knows. The third one is too advanced. I run it, and it's all green. Let me do it again. With less clutter. Come on. We just did it. There you go. You see, for each test, you have the parameter here, right? I try to not throw with the Patronus, the disarming, the light. And then I expect with the levitate spell to throw because it's a basic one, right? And it's green again, right? It says that throws type of, while the previous one says throws nothing. So this is very useful. You may ask, well, why can't I just catch the exception and check inside? Well, for the reason we just mentioned, right? You don't want to stop everything. You want to have all the local variables. You want to check. Even if you put the debugger, you will realize that the debugger stops before. So you have every single local variable to check, right? So instead of using isBasic, if isBasic actually could log what is going on, right? So you will be logging without even getting into it. All right? The index initializers. This works for dictionaries to simplify initialization. And what it lets you do is to use the bracket notation to say for this key, assign this value. It's maybe a bit more clear than the other way of initialization. You cannot combine both, either one or the other. I guess that the next step for this not to happen, we need make like dictionaries, like a primary type or something like that, right? That you can just assign. Have some way of say using commas or something like that. Maybe that's coming. So here for the dictionary, so we have the wizard, and I'm going to say, I'm going to create a new dictionary. So usually when you use a collection initializer, what method of the collection is called? Which one? Add. Correct. What happens when you try to add a dictionary, a duplicate key? You get an exception, right? Here I'm saying to this key, let's assign a wizard, and then to the same key, I'm assigning another wizard.
You're just overriding
Because it's not calling the add method, it's calling the index. And it's all green. So this is something that also we didn't have. Similar to F#, now when you have a catch and a finally block, you can use the await syntax. I don't know if you encountered this in the past. You couldn't do it, right? You couldn't call await on a catch or on a finally. So this is what it looks. This should say C# 6. I don't know. I got confused with what comes next. So do you guys use await and async? Who's not familiar with await and async? Kinda, okay. So await and async, those are keywords that what make is to tell the compiler that an asynchronous operation is coming. So instead of you need to return a callback, right? What the compiler does is to make like a state of that and returns back, right? And unless you call wait on it, right, it won't keep going. So as soon as you put an await, what comes after, it won't get executed unless it's finished. So instead of you have to do that, the compiler does it for you. It's way more clear, right, and saves you tons of code. Otherwise, you have to put a guard and check and run task and run it and wait. If it happens, ignore, call me, and all that. So here it does it for you. So to show you that, what I did is method that it's calling operate async to make a wizard operate to appear right there, and then I'm using wait to stop there and wait, right? Otherwise, I need to declare this method async, right? So what is that? What's MOM?
Ministry of Magic.
Exactly. So I'm calling.
I got my Harry Potter down.
I'm calling the Ministry of Magic to make a wizard operate, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to do it asynchronously. You see that when you have an async method, it always have to return a task. A task is like a promise, right? There's something that's going to happen, and you need to wait on it, and then you get a result. So I'm going to say, well, if there is an exception, I'm going to log it and then create a default wizard. And at the end, right, if the wizard is not null, I'm going to also do some kind of cleanup. All right, of course, these methods, they don't do anything, right? The operate, the only thing it does is to try to open a file, async, that doesn't exist. So that throws a file not found exception. So what's going to happen is I'm going to see in the console, so you don't complain that I use the console enough, you're going to see two messages. One for the exception happened and one for cleaning up. So far so good? Let's run it. And here is the class, and it says file not found exception happened, and then cleaning up. Yes?
Would you normally wait for like the log to run, or would you just do that asynchronously with the exception when you catch the exception?
Well, I'm not. Usually you don't wait, right? In this case, I waited because otherwise I couldn't show you the test, but right? But no, the great thing about this is you can say, okay, I'll do it, right? If I don't need the result, you need another mechanism to notify. But in this case, the great thing is that you can just keep going. And when it's done, he will let me know. And I don't need to wait on that. And with that, I want to show you a couple of features that are not included. So I don't have tests for that, right? Primary constructors. The idea of simplifying the constructor declaration. So a constructor could look like this.
So this is what you wish.
No.
So this is what's in CSharp 6, but you did not write tests for us.
Correct. This was in the specification and they removed it. They took it off. There was one CDP that had it and they removed that. No, what I wish is to do that, same meaning, right? But without the three getters. I wanna, I don't know, use an at or use a $, whatever. Whatever they decide it's a good idea, and say post ID, name, and title. Those are my three properties. I don't need to define getters for that.
This is available in like TypeScript or anything like that, where you can declare it right in the method signature?
CoffeeScript does that.
CoffeeScript does that too?
Yeah. TypeScript, I'm not sure. Could be.
TypeScript does it too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure the new JavaScript.
The new like ECMAScript 6?
Yeah.
I don't know either. I should know that.
They wanted to add an index property operator, so you can do, instead of doing something like this in a dictionary, you can actually do it like that. And that didn't actually, they removed that too.
Why would you want that?
There are
Sorry?
so few places where I need.
Why?
to know what language.
Why what?
Why?
I wish I could have that insight.
No, why would you want this?
Why would you want it? I wish I could have that insight too, I'm not sure. I think that they try to mix the compilation to avoid a string, or so you don't need to use the double quotes, similar, to JavaScript, that whatever you put there, it becomes automatically a property. That I see. that if you have a dictionary and right, or some kind of JSON object, that you automatically have properties without using the brackets and all that stuff. So I guess maybe this is going this way, right? Trying to appeal more to web developers and to see stuff like that.
Web developers are wrong, that's awful.
Are there any other, is anyone here a web developer that thinks that might be good?
Is it compile time safe then? Like
Yeah.
If you try and,
Or no, it's runtime, right? It's like a dictionary.
so if you try and access Harry later, the compiler doesn't check to make sure that,
It's the same as a dictionary.
okay. Then yeah.
It checks the same like a dictionary. If you don't have that key, I don't remember it throws, I'm not sure it throws an exception or returns default. I don't remember. But whatever the dictionary does, it will do that.
It's an exception.
Is an exception?
In CSharp,
Yeah, so.
So it doesn't really change anything.
No,
Other than syntax.
you write a bit less. I don't know, maybe if you're accessing properties all the time, if you're heavily writing to accessing properties, this looks like just one character more, like sounds silly, like the other one is 4 characters more, but at least you're on the beginning end of the string, the beginning end of, so you can just keep typing.
Yes, we gave you IntelliSense, maybe it would have been useful, but.
Intelligence of what, on the dictionary?
Yeah.
That's an issue.
So it's in there.
No.
I was trying to.
Yeah, and again, I see that on the F# side of things. When you have type providers, that a type provider actually will do that for you. At compile time, we grab the JSON, right, and create a type for you, and you have IntelliSense. Or we'll grab the database at compile time, and you access the database with all the fields, with everything, right, but it's still at compile time. So I think that solution probably would be better. Yeah.
And as you mentioned record classes.
Sorry?
Record classes. I figured that would be right up your alley.
Which one?
Record classes?
Yeah.
Like ensure immutability.
Yeah.
But they didn't put that in there.
No.
Either, right?
No. No, I kept reading, and of course, whatever I read, I went to the compiler back, tried to write it. People saying it's in CDP3, but didn't make it, and yeah, I think that they're getting closer and closer to F#.
Yeah.
Try to. That's it. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Again, if you have a chance, check it out, my product, SmartView. Here's how to contact me. My email, Twitter, you can get the slides from there, the slides and the code. That's my blog. And the last one is a very cool place you can check it out, where I also cross-post blogging, but also here with Dave we do, and many other great people and developers too, that they're also people. We do podcasts and have discussions, so check it out. It's very, very interesting. And please send me an email or a tweet. Check the code, check the slides. Let me know if you think we should add something. And that's it. Here you can get the slides, get the resources. I use these 3 articles mainly, also to try to kind of cross-check what one was saying, what the other was saying. And some of them, they're presenting the features like they're there and they're not. Right, so that's it. Thank you very much.